Capital News tonight. Prime Minister orders councils to set aside areas for production of sisal seedlings. Bodies of 2 people who died at a waterfall in Babati recovered. And sports news, National Baseball and Softball Association selects under 23 and under 15 coaches. Good evening, this is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Khadija Zimbo. First, the national news. Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa has distributed modern sisal seedlings that were researched at Tanzania Research Institute Mlingano in Tanga region, while directing all councils in the country farming the crop to set aside not less than 10 acres so as to prepare the seedlings for farmers.
Tunajua mbegu kwa sasa tunazipata kwenye kituo chetu cha utafiti cha Mlingano.
We understand that seeds from our research center is not enough, but investors with your own seed nurseries, it is still not enough. I've instructed that every municipal council with sisal farmers must have their own nurseries so as to produce sisal seedlings.
Kazi nyingine ambayo tunaifanya serikali ni kuwapa majukumu viongozi wa serikali kuanzia wizara, mikoa, wilaya.
The government has also delegated responsibility to its leaders from the ministry, regional, district and village levels so as to reach farmers wherever they are.
Kama taifa letu hatutofanya mabadiliko ya kilimo katika kipindi cha miaka hii mitano.
If our nation doesn't do agricultural revolution in these 5 years of President Magufuli, it will be very hard to do so in the future. This is the time where we have leaders who can take risks. If we present an idea, it is approved.
Tayari tumeweza kutambua maeneo ambayo yanaweza yakalimwa mkono.
TARI has been able to identify areas that sisal can be cultivated. We have at least 44 million hectares, equivalent to 47% of all area suitable for sisal.
Kama tunataka kulima mkonge, tunasema kwamba tayari tumeishaonyesha kwa kutumia ramani maeneo ambayo yanafaa kulima mkonge.
Bodies of 2 people who died at Tururu waterfalls at River Mrara in Babati district, Manyara region have been recovered by the fire brigade and rescue force in the region.
Leo asubuhi tukamtia hapa tena kwa ajili ya kuendelea na shughuli ya maokozi.
This morning we came to continue with rescuing operations at the river, where we managed to get 2 bodies. One is Joseph Mistori, 21 years of age, a resident of Negamsi, and Abubakar Izori of 19 years of age. We came with the aim of taking pictures. Later on we started swimming, where my 2 friends were swept away by water. It is sad to see our children dying at a young age. What is even sad is that last Friday we lost another child at the river. The President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, has been given the highest Shaban Robert Award, while the second Vice President of Zanzibar, Hamed Suleiman Abdullah, emphasizing that Zanzibar will ensure it works with Tanzania mainland in continuing to spread Swahili across the globe. ITV Radio 1 stations also received awards for the media contributions. ITV in best and most accurate use of Swahili language and coordinating debates on the language, and Radio 1 for being the best radio in developing the Kiswahili language.
Na kama ifahamikavyo,
Kiswahili has benefited and enabled us to have national unity. Therefore, it is our duty to promote it wherever we are. We are all witnesses to how our president has used Kiswahili, and with such excellency as seen in his speeches. ITV is at the forefront in making sure Kiswahili goes further. This is seen in various programs aired on ITV, such as Malumbano ya Hoja, Kipima Joto, and Dakika 45, broadcast in Kiswahili.
Lakini pia ni zawadi ambazo zinasadifu kuzipata sisi kama wakuzaji na waenezaji wa lugha ya Kiswahili ndani ya Tanzania na nje ya Tanzania.
Now, congratulations to our studio. Now, moving on, Rufiji District Government in Coast Region has dismissed the chairman of Kilimani East Village, Mkongo Suburb, Ngorongoro Ward, Ramadhani Said Mdugi, for failing to manage his responsibilities as required, including failing to implement the government directive on proper land use in addressing conflict between farmers and livestock keepers.
Katika mkutano ambao tuliofanya katika kijiji cha Kilimani Mashariki.
In our meeting, we instructed the government to make a follow-up on farmers who had cultivated on reserve area, but to date, we don't know what is going on, as some are still farming there. OCD arrest this individual so he can be investigated by PCCB and all my people to evaluate his performance and his documentation. As of today, he is suspended. Wananchi Insat Mayuma Nyangalio. We did not harvest maize at all. It was all eaten by cattle. The case was filed in court, but we have not benefited.
The decline in the tourism sector in the country has negatively impacted economic activities in Arusha, with 917 businesses closed down from July to December 2020.
They have not been getting tin certificates, and instead they've opted for ID cards for small businesses. We've seen that our municipal councils have not reached the target of 50%. There are various reasons, including a drop in tourism. SMS should be sent as reminders rather than going to queue. It is true that certain situations make us not to want to pay.
Along with coronavirus infections in Europe and other countries in the world, Zanzibar has continued to receive tourists, surpassing their goal, and the number of tourists has increased by 90%.
Statistics show Europe, which is the main source of tourists coming to Zanzibar, a total of 37,376 visitors who came to Zanzibar in December came from Europe, equivalent to 76.9% of all visitors that came to Zanzibar in December. They wanted to go to Russia, but they were refused because they wanted to travel on a chartered flight, which brings in tourists, and any other person who travels on the chartered flight must be granted special permission. We plan that this year we should receive 515,000 visitors by December. We will do our best to make sure we meet the target.
Inawezekana kwamba tukaiona kwamba ni takwimu kubwa, lakini tutahakikisha kwa uwezo wetu wote tunafanikiwa hivyo.
Defense and Safety Committee in Hai District, in collaboration with the Tanzania Revenue Authority TRA, have conducted a special operation in the middle of the night at the district and caught liquor alleged to be fake that were being stored in large warehouses and others hidden in sacks of livestock produce. This shows that most traders are not faithful because this trader requested for retail shop license.
Kwa hiyo maana yake wewe ukazitoa wapi sasa hizo za bei rahisi?
Na watu walituuzia.
Waliwauzia. Mbona unaniambia ni mara moja wakati
ni mara moja ndio maana nasema jamaa alituuzia.
Aliwauzia kutoka wapi?
Alipanda na gari tu akatambia tuna rivela.
Sasa kuuliza niambie wewe kwa nini unafanya hivyo? Na pombe yenyewe ni feki. Manake ninyi ndio mnafanya watu kuwa mazezeta. Halafu mnafichiana siri ya kijinga jinga hii. Mnauza pombe feki, hamlipi kodi popote.
You sell fake alcohol, evade tax. You're a bunch of thieves. These are illegal business. That is why you do them at night.
Usiwizi huu tunafanya usiku, usiwizi huu. You have nonsense.
Some residents of Kigoma Ujiji Municipal who faced floods and lost property due to ongoing rains have asked the government and development stakeholders to help them with emergency aid, as some of them were forced to leave their homes in fear for their safety.
Inakuwa tishio la amani. Hatuna amani kabisa wananchi.
We are not at peace. We had to leave because of the flooding. Children's clothing and school books have been damaged. Everything is ruined.
Kija kuangalia kama hapa karibu na nyumba yangu limetokea korongo ambalo sijawahi kuona. Kwa hiyo nilikuwa naomba serikali mtusaidie.
I'm asking the government for assistance because where are we to seek shelter with children?
Tulionayo ni kubwa ukizingatia kwamba
the town is expanding and more houses are being constructed, but there is a challenge concerning areas where construction is taking place. A lot of areas that water used to pass now have been allocated to people to put up houses.
Kiasi kwamba mvua ikishanyesha ule mwelekeo wa maji kupita unatakiwa upite pale, huwezi kubadilisha.
Gole Primary School in Handeni District, Tanga region, with over 400 students, has only 2 classrooms, something that forces students to take turns in studying.
Kweli tuna changamoto kubwa sana.
We face working challenge due to lack of enough classrooms because there are 2 classrooms that are used by pupils from standard 1 to 7. These pupils have been studying by alternating shifts to give chance for everyone to get education. I have 6 years at this school. There are no teachers' office. I take all school documents to my house.
Dokumenti za shule nalala nazo chumbani kwangu.
Katika vyumba madarasa inatuasili katika masomo.
As pupils' lack of classrooms, it's a challenge that hinders teachers from teaching as well, because 1 classroom is used by 3 standards.
Mkuu wa wilaya nizungumza nikiwa hapa. Nikasema najilaumu sana kuleta bati hapa, bati 89 nilikosea.
I brought 89 iron sheets to be used in roofing classrooms because there were buildings that constructions were completed but struggled with roofing. And that is the end of national news. International news follows shortly. And in international news, the armed forces in Democratic Republic of Congo, FARDC, has announced that they will take over villages and important fortresses that had been taken over by rebels thought to be ADF.
Wakati tumetokea Beni, tunakuja tunafukuzana na adui polepole.
We've come from Beni and we are chasing the enemy. There is a camp on my left-hand side and my right-hand side too, and at the front. You must be ready to fight the enemy. We pray that we defeat him.
Na mbele yetu kabisa ndio kuko kambi wanaita Moske, na ile iko kilomita karibu 5 na Semuliki.
As safety operations continue for the second day against invaders thought to be livestock thieves who killed a high-ranking GSU officer earlier this week in Kapedo, residents have asked the government of Kenya to prioritize students by ensuring schools are opened and security forces conduct patrols in schools so that children do not get left behind in their studies. What did they do for their houses to be burned?
Sisi ni wana Kenya kweli? Uhuru kweli anatujali?
Are we really Kenyans? Does our president even care for us? How come we are beaten every day?
Kuna msichana yangu alikuwa akifanya hiyo mtihani.
Children fail to go to school since last Monday.
Na hajaenda shule tangu Monday. Watoto bado hawajaenda shule bado.
President-elect Joe Biden Harris has officially been sworn into office as President of the United States of America, and Kamala Harris and as Vice President of the United States of America in a significantly scaled-down ceremony that was not attended by the former President Donald Trump, who left Washington a few hours before the swearing-in ceremony began, and becoming the first president in over 150 years not to attend his successor's inauguration. Now, moving on, Germany, once the poster child of pandemic response, can't seem to get the virus under control. After months of increasingly harsh shutdown measures, the country is now doubling down on the virus. For more on this, we are joined from Berlin by DW's Nicole Fröhlich. Now, Nicole, tougher measures in Germany, for some people, they're not going far enough, are they?
That's exactly right. Even though yesterday state and federal leaders decided on extending the current shutdown until at least mid-February, a stricter mask mandate on public transport and an obligation for employers to allow workers to carry out their tasks from home if possible, there is a very vocal fraction of society demanding more drastic measures. Leading scientists in the country are asking the government to opt for a pan-European no-COVID approach, akin to the zero-COVID demands we've seen not only here in Germany, but also in other countries struggling with the virus. The interdisciplinary proponents want to see a more localized approach made up of mobility control, more strategic testing and stricter quarantine rules. So in a way, leaning on the pandemic control concepts we've seen implemented in Australia and New Zealand as well. The no-COVID advocates believe the government's handling is too lax, too open-ended, and risks to alienate the public with endless shutdowns, which in their current form, they say, will never truly manage to eradicate the virus.
About the emerging mutant strains of the virus, how big are the fears that the new variants might lead to the situation to spiral further out of control?
The fact that these evolved strains are leading to a barely manageable spike in cases in countries like the UK and Ireland is something that is causing great concern. Just this Tuesday, it was announced that 37 cases of a new coronavirus variant had been detected in a hospital in southern Germany. New meaning that it was neither the B117 strain, which was first sequenced in the UK, nor the aggressive 501YV2 first flagged by doctors in South Africa. Now, while mutations are completely normal, worries exist regarding transmissibility, severity, and of course, efficacy of the newly developed vaccines, that beacon of hope for millions of people around the globe. The heads of the two leading vaccine developers, Pfizer and Moderna, are confident their products will work on the mutations as well, but with rollouts across Europe getting on rather slowly, the most effective protection against the new strains is and will be for some time the much-loathed social distancing.
And what is the situation in other European countries?
On those two countries I mentioned earlier, the UK and Ireland, whose health systems have come under severe strain because of those new variants. Both countries are reporting record numbers of deaths. Same goes for Portugal, a country that did fairly well during the first wave, but has now become the European country with the highest infection rate relative to the size of its population. While many nations are still grappling with a second wave of the pandemic, Spain is already gripped by a rampant third wave, which has seen the country's COVID-19 incidents hitting new highs. The results are new restrictions, lockdowns, and curfews in many European countries, and an urgent call by the European Commission on EU governments to speed up their inoculation programs. They want to see 70% of the bloc's adult population vaccinated by the end of August. But considering that Germany managed to immunize only a bit over 1% of its population in the first month of the drive, that seems awfully optimistic at this point.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for the updates. And that is the end of international news. Business news follows shortly after the break. We'll be right back.
Watch Business Edition as we talk to business leaders and experts in sectors that are transforming Tanzania's economy.
We believe that the driver is the customer.
To change the mindset of traditional HR to the digitalization.
Make sure that everybody can get some access to financial services.
And once we understand the vision of our leaders, we then need to be behind them and help them in achieving that vision.
Business have involved mercantile operations, trade guilds, or shared agricultural production, infrastructure, construction, financial sectors, tourism, and mining. Business Edition on Friday at 8:15 p.m.
Welcome back, and in business news tonight. The Chief Executive Officer for the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange, Moremi Marwa, has urged investors in the country to invest their money in opening cement factories in the country due to there being a significant demand for the commodity, especially now as the shares have consistently done well in the stock exchange.
Utakuwa kwenye sehemu nzuri ukiwekeza katika kampuni ambayo inahusika na utengenezaji wa sementi na inaendeshwa vizuri.
One will be on the safe side to invest at a cement company. Possibility of its rise are bigger due to its increasingly demand. Expectations of investors is to continue making profit out of these companies.
Na kwa kuwa kuna viwanda ambavyo vinatengeneza, basi matarajio ya wawekezaji wengi nikiangalia ni kwamba wataendelea kupata faida.
The beer business may experience a fall in business and hike in prices after the community of alcohol vendors experience a rise in license prices from the Zanzibar Alcoholic Drinks Control and Advisory Board by 200%. That has caused over 150 bar owners to fail to get a license.
Tamko letu. Tukipata leseni kwa kiwango tutakachojaliwa.
If we get licenses as rates that will be offered, we shall continue paying taxes and adhere to all rules and regulations. Our call to the government is for us to get licenses, although the levies are high.
Kwa hivyo ombi letu tunaomba tupatiwe leseni.
Air Tanzania, in supporting development of the aviation sector in the country, has started a flight training center after receiving a permit to provide the training services, which will begin next month.
Hii yote tumeamua kufanya hivi kwa sababu tumekuwa kwenye hii sekta kwa muda wa miaka 27 sasa.
We have decided to do this because we have big experience in the sector for almost 27 years now. That is why we gave room for Tanzanians to come and train further with us, so that once they shall be in demand as a country, we're going to have enough to share.
Mbalimbali. Basi tutoe fursa kwa Watanzania wengi zaidi waweze kuja kujifunza kwetu na
And that is the end of business news. Sports news follows shortly after the break.
Away first time, good start from Bolt. Bolt leading a moment and going away. Gay trying to go with him, and he's being dragged through to second place, but he's going to win it by 2 meters. Away first time, good start from Bolt. Bolt leading a moment and going away. Gay position, Joaquinho. He did lose to Len.
Welcome back, and in sports news. The National Baseball and Softball Association has selected the under-23 and under-15 coaches for different international competitions that will take place in 2021.
The first task that the coaches will have is to prepare their programs, short-term, mid, as well as long-term. After they prepare the programs and submit them, we will know their needs. One of the programs for the under-23 for both boys and girls is on preparation for an international competition that will take place in June.
Simba SC new signing Perfect Chikwende has explained the reason he signed for the Tanzanian Championships.
The Bali Zimbabwean striker was unveiled by the Wekundu Msimbazi on deadline day of the mini transfer window, just 3 days after playing against them in the CAF Champions League. Chikwende was part of the FC Platinum squad that played against Simba in a two-legged fixture, and he scored in the first leg as they won 1-0 at National Sports Stadium in Harare. He has now claimed the reason why he was attracted to the Simba deal is that they have a group of talented players in their squad whom he wanted to work with.
Sir Keith Mills, the Deputy Chairman of the London Organising Committee for the 2021 Olympic Games, is unconvinced that the delayed Tokyo Olympics will take place. Here's more on the story.
Tokyo organizers and the International Olympic Committee are adamant the Games will start in July, despite a fresh wave of infections sweeping the globe. Mills told BBC Radio 5 Live, looking at the pandemic around the world in South America, in North America, in Africa and across Europe, it looks unlikely. A state of emergency has been extended in Japan to combat rising coronavirus rates, but the World Athletics President Sebastian Coe is confident the event will go ahead this year. Despite Lord Coe's optimism, the current situation makes it hugely difficult for athletes to prepare for the Games.
Dean Smith has described the very scary scale of COVID-19 outbreak that forced Aston Villa's entire squad into isolation this month, but says he is in favour of continuing the season.
9 Villa players and 5 backroom staff members tested positive as the virus swept through the club, leading to illness and anxiety as well as the closure of the training ground, the postponement of 2 Premier League matches and the development of youth players to fulfill the FA Cup tie against Liverpool. The Premier League issued tighter restrictions to all clubs last week in an effort to prevent further outbreaks, a move welcomed by Smith. Smith supports pressing on with the season rather than suspending it.
And that sports item ends on News Bulletin for tonight. My name is Khadija Zimbo. Thank you for watching and good night.
You can watch Capital News live on our social media accounts, YouTube Capital TV and Facebook Capital Television Tanzania from Monday to Friday at 9:30 p.m. Don't forget to subscribe and put notification on.